December 4th, 1942. The day begins like yesterday, not many clouds in the sky and clear visibility. Later, the clouds gather and get gray. During the afternoon, it begins to snow, and the cold wind blows and forms drifts. Before long, the brown and white checked ground around us is again white and clean. I'm shoveling the snow out of the connecting trenches, and the work is warming me up. Weichert is making sure that the field of fire for our machine gun remains unobstructed. I go to visit Waria, Seidel, and the others in the neighboring bunker and walk through the connecting trench. They have fired up their oven, so much so that it's glowing. When I see Warius, I have to laugh. He is lying stretched out in the bunker, with his lower legs disappearing into the clay wall as if cut off. Their bunker is just like ours, an enlarged, covered trench, but it is too narrow for Warius's long legs, so he has excavated a hole in the wall to accommodate the rest of his stilts. Two other soldiers are lying on the straw-covered ground beside him, both snoring. I can hear their stomachs murmur, and Warius says that if you sleep, you save power and energy. Seidel is standing by the oven, stirring something in his mess tin. He says that when you cook up a hot soup of bits of zwieback and snow melt, it lasts longer in the stomach than it would if you force it down dry. He might be onto something here. I will have to try it sometime. You can hear the harmonica again in Meinhard's bunker. Kurats playing some really sad tunes, bringing back memories from home. They were forever telling us at training camp how to service and use our weapons in order to kill our enemies, and we were trained and proud to fight for Führer, Volk, and Vaterland, and if necessary, die. But no one told us what you might have to go through before you got killed, nor that death might not be instantaneous. There are many forms. In the few days we've been here, we've heard the awful screams of the wounded, how terrible it must be to die lying on the frozen ground. The thought fills us with horror. We might lie there, with nobody to help us. We weren't told that this might happen, nor were we told how we could cope with the anxiety that eats away at you like fire and is far more powerful than the impulse to do your duty. Each soldier will have to solve that problem for himself, they said, but more than anything, he will have to hide his anxiety so that the others don't notice it. If he doesn't hide it, his anxiety might be interpreted as cowardice, as in the case of little Grommel, who even while under attack can't bring himself to fire on the enemy. Weichert has also noticed that Grommel can't aim and pull the trigger. Even when he is forced to shoot, he closes his eyes as he pulls the trigger, so he can't see where he's shooting. Yet he was one of the best shots in the training camp. What is the matter with him? Do his nerves fail when he sees the enemy, just like Petch? Weichert has noticed that every time the enemy attacks, he acts as if he's lame, and his eyes flicker and water as though he is in a fever. Maybe I'll talk to him about it, particularly as it affects the safety of all of us. Unfortunately, I never get the chance because over the next few days we are constantly under attack. The few peaceful moments we have, those of us not on guard duty, are used for sleep. We are always overtired. This evening I go and see Meinhard in his bunker again. Unteroffizier Düring is also there and tells us he'll be returning to the village to pick up his harmonica as soon as he has the chance. On the way to the bunker, I hear soft tunes wafting from Kurat's harmonica. I cannot know that I will see him alive only one more time. He and another chum will be casualties in a day or so. December 5th. It snows again during the night. When Weichert and Swina wake me in the morning, there is a wild firefight going on in the village. According to Weichert, it has just begun. He and Swina came back from the observation post and hadn't noticed anything particularly unusual, but now all hell is let loose in the village. The frosty air is filled with the sharp crack of tank and anti-tank guns, with the rattle of rifle and machine gun fire in between. A soldier comes running up, yelling that they need the quad anti-aircraft gun. The engine of the towing vehicle is quickly started up and the quad moves along the hillock towards the village. Flares are constantly shooting up from over there. The thin, flaky snow makes the darkness seem even hazier. Just the weather for a Russian attack, comments an old Obergefreiter as he crawls through the trench. Then the quad gets into action. There is no mistaking its low staccato firing. Fires are blazing at two places in the village. Soon the firefight dies away, and the only firing now comes from the railway line in the direction of Cheer. It is machine gun fire. During the sudden lull, loud engine noises can be heard coming from the Rachel, and heavy diesel fumes penetrate our noses. Cooper and Warius come over towards us. We assume it must be a T-34 stuck in the Rachel, because the droning noise of the engine starts up and then dies down again, always coming from the same spot. We crawl up to the edge of the Rachel, which falls away steeply. We can see nothing, it's much too hazy, but we're in no doubt that the tank has got bogged down. This is our chance to blast it. But how and with what? Asks Warius. As if in answer to his question, there is an explosion and the tank is literally blown apart. We are blinded by the fire and throw ourselves flat onto the ground. The tank's ammunition explodes in the heat, ricocheting back and forth between the walls of the Rachel. In the pale light of the breaking dawn, we can see thick smoke oozing out of the engine compartment. The pioneers call over to us that they have destroyed it with a couple of mines. In the counterattack that follows, we capture a lot of weapons, but we find very little food in the kit bags. Weichert manages to scrounge a few bits of black Soviet army bread, which tastes of dough and because of its texture feels like sandpaper when it is chewed. However, we still gulp it down in order to satisfy some of our hunger. From time to time, I can again hear, away to the right, those revolting muffled shots to the head being carried out by the black sergeant who will no doubt justify his brutality the same way as before. December 6th. 3 of us are dozing away in the warm bunker. Weichert has been on night duty outside. We can hear his footsteps in the hard frost coming closer. As he stands in front of the bunker and lifts the blanket away from the opening, we are wide awake. In spite of being permanently overtired, we still sleep mostly like rabbits, with one eye open and ears alert for any unusual noises. Weichert tells us that Doring has been issued with several cases of ammunition and that we are to pick up our share. It is still quite dark when Grommel and I go over to see Doring. Kurat is still not back. Apparently his observation post still has 20 minutes left on this shift. Everything seems to be quiet, and we hope it will stay that way. As I go to enter the bunker, I seem to hear Kurat's harmonica, but that is not possible. Kurat is at an observation post in a foxhole out in front. Am I mistaken? Are my nerves so frayed that I'm hearing things? I walk back to Warius. Both he and Seidel have heard it. Not a tune, just 2 loud notes, as if someone has just breathed into it. They also were wondering what it was. When we tell Doring about it, he at once takes action. Say, something is wrong, alert, give the alarm, ready to fire. I run over to my machine gun and pull the cover off. The entire unit is now on the alert and waiting. For what? Everything is quiet in front of us. Could Kurat accidentally have blown into his harmonica? If he'd noticed anything, he would have warned us with a rifle shot, as per the usual procedure. Could this be a false alarm? The shift should now be finished, so perhaps they are waiting for the new shift to take over. Doring holds everything up. Then a tracer spirals up in the air. What's that? Less than 50 meters in front of us, we see figures in white snow camouflage battle dress. When we fire our machine guns and rifles at them, they throw themselves into the snow. As it gets lighter, we can see more Russians. They lie behind the first group, also in camouflaged battle dress, ready to jump up. The pioneers are shooting at them too from the flank. They stay lying in the snow, waiting. Half an hour passes. Why don't they attack? What next? What are they waiting for? We know soon enough. Tanks. First we can make out only 2, then another 3 emerge from the haze of the breaking dawn. They advance towards us and fire at our positions. What is our 88mm doing? It is camouflaged and certainly awaiting its chance. The thought calms us only a little. What good is 1 gun against 5 T-34s? The Soviet infantry follows up under cover of the tanks in a dispersed file. We try to keep them down. Then, like a bolt of lightning from the clear sky, comes firing from the 88mm. We see a glowing armor-piercing shell slam against a T-34, causing a jet of flame and then thick, black, acrid smoke. The barrel of the 88mm has already been lined up at the next target. The shell goes right into the track of the tank. The vehicle can now only spin in circles. The tank crew has just got enough time to jump out before a second shot, a bullseye, destroys the tank. Another tank tries to escape into the blind spot of the 88. Two T-34s fire on the 88th. Their shells come close. One ricochets like a fireball from a snowdrift and slams into the bunker to our right. We hear yells and calls for the medic. Then the third tank is hit. He can't work his turret anymore. With his barrel angled and immobile, he tries to escape to the rear. Minutes later, the other one follows him. The tank, which had crept into the blind spot of the 88, now steps out of the frying pan into the fire. As he tries to move into a firing position to wipe out the 88, he is standing exactly under the guns of two of our tanks, which have been waiting for him behind the hillock. Before they destroy him, however, he manages to damage one of them quite seriously. Although we have again managed to counter the enemy attack, we have had to pay dearly. The T-34 hit on our bunker has killed the promising tank rifleman Dieter Malzahn and a Gefreiter. 3 others are seriously wounded, one having had half of his arm torn off. Only later in the day, when the heavy Russian shelling eases off, can we again move into the area in front of our position. Beside the foxholes at the observation post, we find Kurat and his chum in their own frozen pools of blood. The Soviets have slaughtered them and taken their boots and rifles. Kurat can't have been killed instantly because he managed to warn us with his harmonica. As we carry the 2 corpses back with us to give them a decent burial, Kurat is still holding his harmonica in his limp hand. He has saved our lives, for without his warning, the enemy would surely have taken us by surprise and massacred us. Today has been another bad day for us, and we, the survivors, have again been granted a reprieve by him above. Grommel reminds us that today is St. Nicholas's Day and Sunday. What is that? For us, there are no more holidays, only survival, and every day we remain alive is a good day. I will sleep rather fitfully tonight. December 7th. The weather this morning is hazy again. During the morning it clears up, so that the visibility gets quite good. The enemy snipers are firing like mad again. We have 3 incidents during the morning. At the station, the Soviets are attacking separately and are firing their mortars into the village. When our Stukas arrive, everything becomes quiet. They bomb the Russian positions in front of us. The Soviets have camouflaged themselves so well in the white snow that we are surprised how close they've been able to get without our noticing them. The dive bombers throw themselves at the Russians in several waves. We have become used to their wailing sirens when they dive. The many black clouds of smoke make it obvious that they have also hit vehicles and heavy weapons, but they still couldn't stop the enemy attacking us that afternoon with artillery and mortar fire. Only the Stalin Orgeln were not involved. Were they perhaps destroyed by the dive bombers? For our evening meal, we unexpectedly receive bean soup with potatoes and some bread. Jansen managed to bring back some food supplies for us over the Don. December 8th. Today is pretty much the same as yesterday. The visibility is good and the dive bombers start bombarding the Russian positions early. This time they are operating further back. The Russians must have pulled together strong forces on the heights behind Chir Station. The dive bombers attack for a second time, in several waves, and lob their bombs onto their targets. An inky black smoke rises up into the blue sky. December 9th. A gray morning, and the enemy is firing with all his heavy weapons into the village and into our positions. Until noon we can peer only with the utmost of caution over the edges of our bunkers. The terrible waiting game has begun again. The Soviets are undoubtedly getting their own back for the dive bomber attacks, which today will not take place owing to the poor visibility. During the afternoon they attack the village both from the east and along the railway line from the south. We, however, are not involved. If they do manage to take the village, they'll be able to attack us from 2 sides and leave us vulnerable to a pincer movement. We wait and pray that they will not succeed. The fight for the village lasts several hours. Then the reserve unit manages to counterattack and drive the Russians back out of the village again. The losses are great, 6 dead and many wounded. This concludes the 8th part of the story. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe for more episodes and leave a comment.